Hi and welcome to the video. This should serve as a small intro to the guides I want to make for several TCG decks, and this is going to be a bit more of a general video about something I believe is very important to get better. This was all sparked thanks to this tweet by Jessica Robinson. She's a Yu-Gi-Oh player who has won a lot, and Ian Rob's response, who is a MTG and Pokemon player who has recently won a lot also, as he got second at MTG Standard Pro Tour this year. So, what do you need to be good and consistent in TCGs? It basically means a lot, but one of the things I want to talk about today is about recognition, which I believe Ian Robb described very well in these tweets, but I want to go a bit more into depth about. In card games, we sometimes found ourselves asking, how can we get better? We feel as if our deck is limiting us, or we just don't have luck on our side, while other players achieve higher picks doing what we believe is the same we do. This has a very long answer, and is going to vary from game to game. Different systems reward different skills. So I'm going to do this video to talk about one of those skills that can help you get better at the game and why you may not be realizing what you could be doing better. Recognition is the word I chose for this skill since it seems to encapsulate what I want to discuss best. Many of us tend to think that we can do everything the deck has to offer and that there are no alternative lines nor better lines we can be taking one player. We play optimally and we only lose when matchups or the draws inhibit us. This may be a good place to start, but it isn't the final stop. Recognition is something that has to be trained through repetition, and if you play more, you will recognize more situations. And now you will know how to react to certain situations to reach those ideal situations. Now I know I'm repeating myself, but I will show you. I promise it will make sense. We all know our win conditions, but we don't know every single way to get there. Many because they are suboptimal, many because they are too situational, or just plain unrealistic. However, games are always different, and there are a lot of games to be played. Even in a single tournament, you play around 15 games. So those borderline situations happen a lot more than we think, and we pay them no attention because usually we can either wait one more turn to get a safe way to win, or go for a safer play where we give our opponent the chance to make a mistake or anything because we are either ignorant that we can take the game on the very next turn, or because we are afraid of losing the game because of something we did. This is something really difficult to grasp, but to make my point concise, I just want to talk about reaching our win condition. I'm gonna split it into two win conditions that every deck have. Maybe you can see it that way more clearly, but I believe that the two most important ways to win is by either killing your opponent. I know it sounds stupid, but it's the best way to win since your opponent cannot respond to losing. And the other one is leaving a board state where an opponent can't play and loses the following turn. If you see these two endpoints, you will realize how many of your decks play like this. You either win on the very same turn you start to play, or you leave a state where your opponent cannot respond. Of course, there are going to be back and forth games, there are going to be games that go the distance and you will struggle, and there will be resources and a resource war, but these games are always finishing in the same way. They manage to kill you in a turn, or they leave a turn where you cannot play or do nothing to respond. So, taking these two things, let's think about decks which we can clearly see how we can reach these situations more often. So, I put these cards because I want to use both Rocks and Royal Knight as an example, because they have clear methods of winning, but I believe they have both clear and not so clear methods of winning earlier. For example, Royal Knights will win if they drop Optimum BT13 and they have more bodies that can swing than you have lives. This is pretty obvious, and it's the way the deck has been played ever since its inception. However, there is a lot of leeway there. You can get more swings depending on what Royal Knights you are playing with Omnimon, and you can use less memory for Omnimon depending on what you have available when you play him. For example, if you don't have enough bodies with different names to win below your Yggdrasil, but you have either something like Lord Knightmon or Jesmon, they will spawn one body more, meaning that even if you don't have enough Royal Knights, the Jesmon token or the level 4 Royal Knight rings will close out the game. Another example will be Dynasmon. Dynasmon can burn one of your lives to check 2 securities, meaning that you need one less knight to win the game with Omnimon. And the other thing you can really manipulate is the memory need for Omnimon. Of course, this is thanks to Alpha Mono you can ace. Alpha Mono you can ace basically makes it so that when you take a life from your opponent, you gain free memory, meaning that even if you pass turn with your Omnimon, if any of your Digimon can attack at the end of the turn or during that effect, you can gain back free memory. For example, if you play Omnimon BT13 and play an OmniX next to an Alphamon, you know at the end of the turn you can attack with OmniX, take a life, and then get back your turn to finish off with the rest of the knights. Also, if you don't have it, you can play Jesmon, for example, who, when he sees something get played, can make one of your Digimon attack. Since all of your Digimon have Rush, you can use anyone to attack, take a life, and then gain back those free memory, which, if they came back to your turn, you can just win by swinging the rest of the bodies. Now, of course, you know how you win. You drop Omnimon. There's other ways to win, but you know when you drop Omnimon, you win. But if you know when to drop Omnimon more times than your opponent, they will not be able to prepare themselves. So you will win more because they make a play thinking they're safe, and they are really not, because you know your deck better than they know yours. Now, for the rocks example, I'm going to speak about leaving a board state which your opponent cannot address. For example, when playing rocks, Magnetigramon is your win condition. If any of your level 6s or level 5s digivolve into Magnetigramon and do not pass turn, you will be able to win the game from 4 life or less. This is because on digivolving you burn a life, you then swing, unsuspend, burn another life, 2 remaining, swing, finish your check, your opponent's at 1, you have an unsuspended Magnetigramon, and they are at 1 life, you swing, you burn, you win. So how can we reach this situation as much as possible? Of course, you can always just come from breeding with a lot of resources and win the game on the spot, because you can just go from level 3 or 4 to level 7 with no questions asked because of the emblems. But you need the emblems, and you need closes, and you start to need a lot more resources. But what about the level 6s? Can you reach level 6 and make your opponent unable to defeat you? For example, Pyramidimon has Fragment 3, meaning that new Pyramidimon can add a lot of sources from your trash, meaning that if you know your opponent deck and he has to delete your Pyramidimon to be able to stop you, you can put sources that will make him lose his turn, either because of memory issues or maybe because you digivolve and destroy the Digimon he's trying to kill you with. And if Pyramidimon survives to the next turn, you basically will always have enough sources and memory to go into Magnetigramon and win the game. And since you have just came up from the breeding zone, you may have checked one either with an Ukomon on the first turn or with your level 5 this turn to win some DP. Any way you want it, he will be at 4. You will still have a level 6, meaning that with minimum memory, you will be able to go into your Magnetigramon to win the game. But, for example, what if our opponent can answer to our Pyramidimon? Well, we can see our opponent, for example, may play a deck which answers with its level 5 or 6, and they have a level 4 in breeding. So now we can swing, check, and then go into Metallic Dramon, which will prohibit him from going to level 5s or 6, 5 or 4s. So since he doesn't have a level 5 on board or in breeding, he will not be able to use his 1 Digivolvings, meaning that our Metallic Dramon will most probably live to the next turn. And since it lives, we can go into Magnetic Dramon for 4, which will probably not pass turn and let us kill our opponent. This is a very good way to win with the deck. But what if our opponent has both breeding and there's a Digimon in front of us that we cannot deal with? Then we can go into Blastmon. Blastmon will taunt the Digimon who is at the field at the moment in the battle area, and then when the turn begins he must attack. And if he attacks and he has 1 or less memory, we can easily take back our turn using Blastmon's effect and trashing to Tumblemons. If we don't win back our turn, we can, for example, use some of our sources to delete the Digimon that comes from breeding if he decides to promote, and then block the attacking Digimon, effectively wiping the whole board during the turn, meaning that Blastmon has a very high chance to leap to the next one and then become Magnetic Dra 4 and win. If you realize how many situations you can live where you don't win but your opponent has already lost, you will be able to play the whole game better. Because now, since you know all the ways you can get that winning state, you can play from the very first turn thinking about that state. Oh, you're playing a stack deck? Okay, I'm gonna go for the Metallic Dramon angle. Oh, I'm playing a deck that must leave people on the battle area? Okay, I'm going for a Blastmon angle. Oh, I'm playing against a deck that only destroys and has no other method of removal. Okay, I can go to a Pyramidmon angle that is faster and easier than the other 2 angles, meaning that I can go and do it earlier so that my opponent has a harder time answering. Maybe you do and you lose. Sometimes will happen, but there will be many more times where you win because you took that risk, that calculated risk, and you knew every single number was in your favor. And when you do, you will win 1 more game out of 3, and that's the difference between losing or winning a round. All in all, of course, I went a bit too far with this video, but it was meant to be a bit of an introduction. Next video I will make will be my Deep Sabers guide, which I'm really working hard on, but it's really important to understand the guide that you understand this concept. The more you know about your deck and the more you know about how you can win or reach winning state, the easier it will be to play your deck. If you are thinking about how can I win this turn, you probably are not going to reach within time. You should probably be thinking, okay, I win if I reach this. How do I reach this? So that way you have less to think about and more time to think about the parts where you don't know what to do. If at the beginning of the combo you start, oh, how can I win? You probably realize too late. So know your lines, know how to commit, and know how to win. Those are one of the best tips I can give you to get better at any game, whether it be Digimon, One Piece, Magic the Gathering, or Pokemon. Just go out and play your deck a lot. Once you play your deck a lot, pay attention when you lose and pay attention when you win. If you won, think why. If you lost, think why. And if you lost, think what would you have done to win. You will lose. You will lose a lot because you were learning. You will lose a lot because that's life. The important thing is the more you know, the less it will happen. People don't tend to make the same mistake twice, but it may happen. But believe me, most people don't make the same mistake 7 times. So it's just things about training. Thank you very much. See you next video.